The air was cold and the sky was pitch black as these teens were sprinting through the cornfield. Their breath stinking of booze, their unbrushed hair beating against their foreheads like a mop falling upon a dirty floor. From miles away, you could hear their childish laughs, their heavy breathing and their bad language. These boys eventually stopped for breath, clutching their knees and gasping for air, while trying not to choke on their own laughter. "Holy shit, do you think he's gone?" The shorter one replied. "I fucking hope so." Despite their smirks at each other and the booze still running through their system, they decided to walk instead of run for a while. "There's no way they could find us, right? I mean, we ran pretty far. Did you see how fucking fat that guy was?" The taller one seemed to be more confident. His brown hair was barely covering his eyes, but they still seemed to see everything. The blonde was apprehensive, looking behind him as if he was a 10-year-old who lost his father in the supermarket. "I really think we should apologize or something. Maybe tomorrow?" "Jimmy, I don't even think he was running after us. We probably stank of beer anyway. It wasn't worth his time." The pair continued walking until they came across a clearing. A small wooden barn, a rusty small tractor and a scarecrow. Jimmy immediately ran over to the tractor. "Fuck me. Do you think it works?" While watching Jimmy mess around with the tractor, this young man couldn't shake some odd feeling he had. A strange mix of familiarity and, strangest of all, comfort. "Mike, do you think I should climb onto it or what?" Mike was hesitant. "Do what you want." Mike sat down and rested his head on the barn. He pulled out a pre-rolled cigarette from his pocket, but threw it away once he realized it was wet and falling apart. He looked around the place, perhaps on the lookout for adults or authority, but his eyes kept falling back onto the tall, crudely put together, creepy old scarecrow. He almost jumped out of his skin when Jimmy shouted out to him. "Hey, do you want to go back to mine for more beer? My dad's still at Lindsay's for like 2 more days. We could get trashed and go out somewhere maybe?" Mike stood up and brushed the dirt from his jeans. "You think it's a good idea? What if we ran into that guy from the store?" Jimmy hopped down from the tractor. "We'll just go that way." He pointed to behind the barn. "Anyway, we're young and drunk. All we did was open the door and call him a faggot." Mike laughed. "Well, I didn't." "You did." Jimmy smirked. "Anyway, I'm kinda tired. My mom will be worried or whatever." The pair stood with their hands in their pockets for a while. Jimmy looked at the barn and the corn, while Mike had his eyes fixed on the scarecrow. Jimmy interrupted his thoughts. "Creepy thing, right? I don't even know whose farm this is. I think it might be Alan Bain's farm. You remember his kid from school?" Mike asked. "Of course." The pair stood in silence for another few seconds or so. "Is your dad still at work?" Mike at the scarecrow for a while before replying. "Yeah. He's out late most nights now. He gets back at like 1. It fucking sucks." "How come?" "Well, I don't know. It's like, what if some guy that he tries to arrest or whatever pulls out a gun and blows him away? I saw a video like that once. A cop pulls a guy over for speeding or something, and then the driver calmly gets out, and pulls a shotgun from behind him and shoots half of the cop's face off. I just want him to be safe." Jimmy looked speechless while trying to find the right words. "I know what you mean. Your dad's good at his job. And he's a nice guy. He'll be fine. Plus, we're in a pretty safe town. Nothing really happens around." Jimmy is interrupted by a low groan coming from somewhere close. "What the fuck was that, you, Mike? I thought it was you." The pair went white and looked around the place for a source of the sound. Jimmy pointed at the barn for Mike to check, while he poked his head into the cornfield. "If there's anyone there, we're sorry. You're not a fag. It was a joke. We're drunk and young. Sorry." No reply except the wind, which seemed to be growing. "Hello?" Silence. Mike appeared, shaking his head. Jimmy let out a small sigh. "Whatever. I want to get out of her soon. It's fucking weird. That barn is creeping me out. I think it might have come from there. Anyway, I was just saying that your dad is a good guy. You shouldn't worry. He's probably back from now. I'd check my watch but I can't really see shit. You want to bounce?" Mike looked around. "Yeah." As the pair walk away in the dark, the air grew colder and more vicious, and the barn started to creak and rock in the heavy winds. The two boys' footsteps grew fainter and fainter as their voices disappeared further and further into the field, leaving the rusty old tractor, the unstable barn, and the scarecrow all alone. In silence, one could hear nothing but the blowing wind in this clearing. That is until another low moan came. This time louder. Another came. And another. The source of this sound could have remained a mystery. It could have been forgotten about by the boys, the wind, the corn, and time itself, but unfortunately, that eerie sound was coming directly from the straw-filled, ugly, dirty old scarecrow. And it appeared to be moving. That sound, that low moan, would be remembered by Mike and Jimmy for a long time. It would cause some great mental pain, especially for Mike, who would later in his life turn to alcoholism and eventually suicide to get rid of that overwhelming feeling. His dad had not come home that night. In fact, his dad would never come home ever again. It would take a week before they located him, and by then, it was too late. That loving father and devoted husband had been tortured beyond recognition. His face and body had several yellow and purple bruises, as well as deep cuts and scars. His ears had been cut off. His feet severed, and 4 of his fingers were missing. In fact, the police couldn't even recognize him when he was found. Not until the DNA tests came in. Of course, many pondered who could do such a thing to such an honorable and hard-working man. Who could cause so much pain and why? This remained a mystery to many people in this town, as well as his family and friends. The biggest mystery, which is still being spoken of and thought about to this day is: why was he strung up as a scarecrow?